So this is your first time drifting?
Yeah.
Wanna try?
Yeah.
Yes, a very special episode with the Golf R 8th generation 20 years special edition, ice lake driving and also German Autobahn. Here with Thomas and Autogefühl for you in 4K, full screen and full length. Let's go! We will start our review here in Germany, where we will later hit the Autobahn. The Golf 8 here has these headlamps that are basically upside down if you compare them to the previous generation. And in the R styling here, the blue strip goes all the way and also the light strip all the way here from the R logo. Really cool design feature. And in the lower part, the R styling with the black accentuations. Lapis blue is this typical or traditional R color at Volkswagen R. The length at 4 meters 28 or 169 inches. And here in the side profile, we can see the Golf R 19-inch wheels come standard here in this special edition style as well. The R badging here, well, at the side you can see that some of the details here in the new generation are not as good from the build quality as in the 7th generation. We really have to say that. However, there's a big technology advantage, and that is the rear torque split. So this is still a front wheel biased platform. And then power is sent from the front wheels to the rear wheels, even more here in the R version. And then on the rear axle, the torque can be sent to one wheel in that drift mode that is available right here, also to 100% to the outer wheel. And that really pushes the car around the corner. We will experience a lot of that in the driving part, and will be very interesting how this one also behaves when driving in Sweden on the ice lake. DCC, dynamic chassis control, is the adaptive suspension. The car sits lower and also adapts then to the driving mode. And really nice, of course, here these blue brake calipers with the R wheels. That's a lovely feature, and yeah, another reason to go for the Lapis blue color. See the color match. And here in the 20 years special edition, you also get here this 20 logo at doors. And even more interesting is when you open the doors, you also get a special 20 years. Here is 20R with the R logo 20 years special edition paddle light. It's really cool here next to the door. And it is actually originating here underneath the side mirror. So I can also have that projected then into my hand. Pretty cool, right? So you can see it right here. Yeah, always a very nice feature. So torque split wise, this has the potential to be the ultimate Golf of all times. However, there are also some drawbacks. I mean, yeah, no hydraulic struts here in the front. Yeah, there's no engine cover here in this very test vehicle as well. And this is the 2-liter 4-cylinder. Here then with 333 horsepower, that's a 13 horsepower power upgrade, at least for the European market. And 4.6 seconds in the acceleration figure, that's even 0.1 seconds less here in the 20 years special edition model. In the US, it will still have 315 horsepower, even here in the 20 years special edition. Well, where does it come from? Why 20 years? Well, 20 years back, in 2002, there was the Golf R 32. At that point, that stood for a 3.2 liter of displacement from a 6-cylinder. 6-cylinder in the Golf R. Yeah, we've come a long way. Yeah, but at least this one here is 2 seconds quicker in the acceleration figure, and we will drive it very soon in different ways. And I would really like to know from you guys, which one do you find best, most beautiful? The past Golf 4 based R32 Golf R, the Golf 7R, or this one here in the new generation? Tell me in the comments. Well, if you ask me, I love this boxy styling of the Golf 4 in the R32 and of course the 6-cylinder concept. The Golf 7.5 was to me, let's say, the best compromise of everything. Great driving, also nice exterior, very elaborated interior. And here the Golf 8, don't like it so much from the front, but here from the rear I think it's a very great styling. Modern tail lamps right here, and then the R black accentuations in the lower part, and here the optional Akrapovic exhaust for even better sound experience. But let's also compare the sound of the R32 model 20 years back. So, which one was your favorite? The modern one or the past one? And here in Sweden now, freezing temperatures, we can show you the differences between the normal Golf R model and the 20 years special edition. Let's take a closer look, because only if you look closer you can see here in the normal one, most of the stuff is blacked out here. Well, stuck with my glove. And then here on this side we have blue accentuations on top of the headlamps. And also here at the side, for example, we have the normal R badge here. Better build quality in this case here, by the way. Whereas with the 20 years special edition, we also have a blue accentuation. So the 20 years model, more blue for everyone. And does this vehicle also have no engine cover? Yes, indeed. Well, and I found out what's the reason for that. Because there was a recall for different models, not only the Golf, also other VW models of that range with that base engine, so to speak, that the engine cover could become loose and then maybe touch the turbocharger and become a fire hazard possibly. So a couple of thousand cars have been recalled, and then they are waiting now for a fixed engine cover. So you will also get one again, a new one, if you have a car that was inside this recall. They are very interesting inside, definitely. Stuff like this can happen. And it's also very interesting in the automotive industry that the same car, some, to some it might apply and to some not, because also inside the model range, sometimes different suppliers are being used for the same vehicle. So there are other engine covers which are totally fine. This is the car key, high gloss black, but at least with a nice blue R logo on the other side. Then the door closing sound is good, actually solid. Better with this one here. An earlier Golf R model I had a worse door closing sound, but this one here is actually pretty good. Inside of the doors, this is just somewhat soft touch, so still quite hard, softer here than for your elbow. And then there's real carbon fiber use here in the interior with the 20 year special edition model. The R always gets a special steering wheel here with blue accentuations, perforation at the side, and also blue contour stitches. And hashtag capacitive BS buttons at the steering wheel. They are illuminated, so they look quite cool. And also this blue R button that is accessing the sporty driving modes. But to control them while driving is not ideal. Sport seats are standard like this with integrated head restraint. And animal skin is standard in the US for all Golf R. In the UK for the 20 years version. You can depick it with the normal Golf R, and in Germany, you're most flexible. You can also get the fabric seats version with Alcantara inserts for the Golf R 20 years version. Get 2,500 euros back. Well, look at that here. This one here has less than 10,000 kilometers or less than 6,000 miles on the clock, and the animal skin material already looks like shh. Interior overview here screens 10.25 inch on the left and on the right side. This is also the standard size here for the Golf R. Real carbon fiber use here further on the right side with a nice ambient lighting integration also in the lower part with the Golf stamping and the blue light. It looks really, really beautiful. It looks cleaned up, but let's take a look at the very details. Infotainment system, here this is like the vehicle overview. This here is the main menu, and it has become faster with recent software updates indeed. This one here is the car internal map. It is not super bad anymore, definitely not. Here is the climate unit. You can access it here, also let it on auto, change temperature here, but also here on these sliders. So far they are not illuminated. We've now seen in a preview the ID7 will get illuminated sliders then, and this is here the volume control, but you rather would do the steering wheel. So it is more or less better now. Here also with the Apple CarPlay integration, that looks actually quite cool, but it will never get great. That's the problem, because it has been flawed from the beginning on, but you can live with that at least now. And the Harman Kardon sound system is decent. It's definitely an upgrade if you compare it to the standard sound system. It's not the best of the world, but actually quite decent to listen to. R mode button, when you just very softly click it, then you get to the driving mode selection, or it hops to sport, and then you can click it further through and like this and so on. But if you press it firmer, then it directly hops to race, and then there is drift and Nürburgring special mode. So this you have to select then. Oh, there we go. Switches back again. So we have to then inside the touchscreen and then select it and then activate it that you're really sure. And in this drift mode, then you have this most possible torque split. And you can also see how that switches through the instruments, like here. When we are in that sport mode like this, changes color, race mode like this, for example. Then also on top you see an RPM meter, so that's actually a nice visualization. You can also switch the complete view like this here, for example, to a more classic view, or then going here with the map and so on. But yeah, I would actually prefer the sportier view that is just looking like this. And we also have a head-up display. In this lower area here, 2 USB-C chargers, then this illumination, and then you put your smartphone here when you have the cable connected, but then it's really flying all over the place. And then here underneath there's the inductive charging pad, and that also secures your smartphone. So in most cases you get this 7-speed DSG, and well, switching from reverse to D is actually quite fun. It's also a clean setup here. But in the US you can also get a 6-speed manual, but just in the US. And then here the cup holder, it can also be drawn in and then put out like this again. And then here underneath this armrest, that is well attached, actually some more space. Rear seating area, well, hardpack materials at the inside of the doors, and then these voluminous sport seats, they look great, but they reduce rear legroom, so I can hardly sit there properly than here in the rear as a tall person. Yeah, the Golf always has the short wheelbase here as the hatch version. The Estate model that is also available, even in the R version, that one has a longer wheelbase and therefore also more space in the rear. Seating comfort itself is actually quite good, and headroom is no problem with 189 or 6'2". But then again, yeah, it's the legroom that is missing here. Therefore, a short look at the trunk here, folding the logo. There's also a camera hidden underneath it, so that it stays clean. Clever solution. 370 liters here. The overdrive models always have a little bit liter loss, but the length is of course the same, 75 centimeters or 29 inches, and the width here in that area is a good meter or 40 inches, even here between the wheel arches. And you can see here the cabin trolley also easily fits in the vertical way. To fold seats you have to grab over or access it from the rear. And then you get a quite even surface with a length of about 150 in meters or some 58 inches. Woo! That was 0 to 100 kilometers acceleration. Welcome to Thomas's Driving Lounge with the Golf R 8th generation, 20 years special edition. Here, usually I would go in the comfort mode, but when I press and hold the R button, I'm in the race mode and do 40 kilometers now. Let's go. Kilometers an hour, 125 miles an hour, and it goes further. Wow, great acceleration, really quick here. Now the wind noise is making up to 30. Here, lane changing at this high speed, really controlled. Oh, and about 250 kilometers an hour. Wow, this is. I'm not allowed to drive that fast with winter tires. The car just said. Oh, sorry about that. Dum-de-dum-de-dum. Wow. Great performance here, and you really feel like you belong in a sports car here. Yeah, smartphone is flying all over the place when it's on the top part here. Whew, this gets your adrenaline going, and this Akrapovic exhaust, of course, especially when you take off the gas and you're in the. Heard that? Blop blop. Blop blop. Not sure if the microphone can pick it up, but it's really notable when you have like throttle and then this I'm not, but it's like when you throttle and yeah, there it is. So suddenly release the throttle. Whew! Yeah, that was something, you know, great acceleration at first and then also onto the Autobahn. And with the driving mode select, that's actually quite cool because when you keep it in comfort mode here, it also has a different visual effect. We can also very well see it here now in tunnel. And then when you use the R button, you can either switch through the modes with a single click, for example, or you can also, have a, deeper click, and then you always get directly to the race mode. You can see here also everything changes then to blue with the ambient lighting. Looks pretty cool here also on the side and with the real carbon fiber. So that's really nice. Oh, by the way, sound here. While we're in the tunnel, let's put on the windows. Yeah, it's actually quite nice. Not too much actually. Yeah, but definitely great motorway vehicles, a lot of fun here. And I mean, if you don't do these tests here, usually, when I'm driving, everyday driving and so on, I don't, do these kind of performance driving tests. But still, the consumption will always be very high, even if you drive a little bit calmer. So some 10 liters, 1 kilometers, 23 mpg US, 28 mpg UK, you have to calculate with. Maybe even if not worse from time to time. Yeah, and this R mode here really gives you a nice sporty feeling. Ah, there it is with the cracks and blobs. Ah, beautiful. Really nice around the corner. Super progressive steering. We'll soon also do some winding corners even more. Wow, the steering is really happy with that, So progressive direct input. You have a feeling over the low degree areas. I love that steering here. Oh, there's a Golf as well. A nice great color. It's also Golf 8, but not a special R version. There you can also see some of the differences. Well, and the thing is, you can still use this here as a normal Golf. There is the DCC, the dynamic chassis control, the adaptive suspension, and it does a good balancing job between comfort and sportiness. Here with the 19-inch wheels, of course, you gain more sportiness, lose a little bit of comfort, but just from everyday driving comfort, it's totally fine. It gives you basically more or less the same comfort than normal Golf. The normal Golf will drive a little bit softer, of course, that's how it's meant to be, but it's not that, with some top sporty models, depending on the brand, you say like, okay, you have this great sportiness, but then again, you don't want to drive it every day, but here it's no problem. And it's super interesting. I have this special gauge here which shows me the torque distribution, and when I'm, for example, here now exiting out this corner here, left corner, I see in the distribution there's the most power on the right outer wheel in the back, so that the vehicle is being turned around. And yes, it is a front wheel biased vehicle, but here in the R version, so much power is being sent to the rear axle, and then on the rear axle with that special torque split here in the 8th generation Golf R, up to, in the drift mode, 100% of the rear power can be sent to one wheel, and that's always then the outside wheel in the corner, and that makes the car swift around, like this. It's a really cool system, definitely. So the least front wheel bias a Golf can be, indeed, and we'll soon experience more of that in winding corners. First of all, one more time in the tunnel, and then also one more Autobahn, German motorway acceleration. We're in the R mode. We shift down ourselves this time. There we go. Whoa. And 180. Wow, that goes really quickly. The road is slightly wet here now, so I'm a little bit cautious, but just slightly. See here, the right side is already dried out. Wow, but it's a lot of fun also to shift yourself. Ah, beautiful. And I mean, it's a compact vehicle, not too long wheelbase, but it feels so calm and settled on the motorway. Of course, at these high speeds, the wind noise are picking up somewhat, but in general, noise insulation is actually quite good. Wow, yeah, here you also feel in that racing mode, the DCC, dynamic chassis control, is set on a stiffer note. Ah, beautiful. So you don't need any more sports car than this, actually. That's the good thing about it. And it feels so great in the handling, so calm and collected. That's what I like about compact sports cars, that you feel you are in control all the time. That's really, really nice. And we are still driving with winter tires, to think about it. Did someone exceed the speed recently with winter tires? So, I mean, my point is, with summer tires, it would be even a more direct and stiffer experience than here with the winter tires. And before we come to the winding corner part, let's test some of the assistance systems with blind spot monitor in the side mirror, We can also set the cruise control here. We can also activate the travel assist and then set the speed. Yeah, the capacitive controls, hashtag capacitive BS on the steering wheel, not the best to use, definitely. Get used to it a little bit, but real buttons would be better. They give you some haptic feedback at least. Here now, travel assist means active lane keeping assist. And you can see here, so far, that's well done. Primarily being used on the motorway, but here I always tend to test it also on countryside roads because that is a tougher environment for these assistance systems, and there we can really put them to the test, see what they are made of, and especially here this right corner. Some master it, some don't. Of course, I'm always aware that I could intervene, but at the moment I'm not steering, just keeping the hands on the steering wheel, and see here, that was very well done. So if there might be some situations where you don't want to really attack this vehicle, drive it yourself, and want to relax a little bit more, rely on the assistance systems even more, and just as a convenience feature and so on, you can do it. The assistance systems are working very well indeed. Yeah, but most of the time, we do want to drive it. Well, and then to the mode that should only be used by professional drivers and in closed circuits. Here, the drift mode, activate. And also we're on the EC Sport, so it's not completely deactivated, but it's set drawn back. And then even more torque is sent to the outer wheel each. We'll skip the first corner here because of the doggy. Drive slowly and calmly. But here in the drift mode you have just even more responsiveness, definitely, you know. So we're clear. Here we go. Wow, this is really attacking now. And let's take a look at now in the corner, also at the steering wheel, and then here. Yeah, there we go. Some sliding around. Here we exit the corner. Yeah, smartphone is flying all over the place again. Really need to put it in the lower area there. Wow. And then here, when we're in these corners here, yeah, the car really comes around really nice. Wow. Yeah, that's a lot of fun. So you don't really feel anymore that this would be a front wheel biased vehicle. In this configuration here, Golf R, and then with the torque split, it is not at all. So that's a really cool thing to achieve. And that is to me also the crucial difference between the 7th and the 8th generation. To me, the Golf 7 looks better on the exterior, and the interior is to me also better. And you know, the new software and so on, we know we don't like it that much, no one does, but the driving here, yeah, hardware is still super cool, and this torque split really gives you a different driving experience. It basically feels almost like, you know, like a rear biased all-wheel drive. That's what this system is achieving. Does the 20 years edition play a role there? Well, it is even more responsive. It feels more direct, even a little bit sportier. It's cool if you like it, sure. Does it make it a completely different vehicle? No, it doesn't. But it's definitely a nice, sporty extra notch we are welcome to take. Here, by the way, when the road is kind of rough, suspension is still doing a good job. Yeah, so it is an everyday racer. That's about German Autobahn and also countryside roads and so on. But what about when we put this one here on the ice? Welcome to Thomas's drifting school. And for that we put in the Nürburgring special mode. So we have soft suspension actually, but sporty everything else. Nürburgring Nordschleife because we need soft suspension because of the topography changes. And then we also deactivate the ESC system to completely off. That is possible here in the Golf R. Sadly not with a button anymore, but then in the infotainment system. And Leah can enjoy some drifting here. Yeah, we had a preview earlier, and you seem to be enjoying that very much, right? So, yeah. Of course. And then we just basically turn in the steering wheel and hammer the throttle. And since we're here on this frozen lake, the ESC is off. There we go. And then we can hold the drift and we just control the throttle. You see here, I don't change the steering that much. Now I counter steer a little bit. I can hold the circle, and by that, see here, I can hold the circle almost forever. You see, I don't do too much with the steering. It's more that I steer the car with the throttle, and we can look outside the window here when we look to the front. There's a little bit, blown out this lake already because temperatures were changing. Yeah, and then I can, for example, also exit this roundabout. Yeah. It looks all so easy, right? You want to try that yourself?
Maybe.
What is going on? Look at that! What is going on? You never practiced this before?
No.
She's a natural, isn't she? Are you kidding me? This was the first time?
Yes, and it was so much fun, and it's so cool on the snow, and the nature is very cool. Yeah.
Well, and here now on the track, what we can very well show you is the difference between the ESC systems actually. So at the moment, the Nürburgring mode and also ESC is off, and I have a lot of play. And also, you can see in the front, there's another Golf R with Martin Escher, long-time colleague here, and he's also drifting it out. It's really cool here on that frozen lake, and you can see this is real black ice. It looks like asphalt in front of us, but it's real ice then on the ground. The thing is always, of course, between the drifting and going straight, we know different techniques. Colin McRae has been drifting it all the way out, for example. Sebastian Loeb, for example, more driving like a asphalt racer driver, but driving directly without a lot of drifting is often the faster way. And here, for example, I'm already drifting without, applying some throttle. Sometimes just the low change here, for example, is going in the drift. It's really slippery here on this very track, but beautiful with all the trees and so on. Very interesting, and it's super challenging indeed. And you have to control the speed, of course, to check that you don't get too fast. Here you see, it happens really easily that you can get drifted outside the corner, and then you have to correct again. So when you slowly start, here for example, you can drift out of the corner, and here slowly against it, drift to the other side. You see, I'm trying to be very smooth on the steering. Now the interesting thing is when I'm, for example, going to the ESC Sport, that's now where technology plays a role then. And what have they done there? ESC Sport is then, here you can get a little bit loose, but at the same time, at some point before the car would be totally braking out, it is being controlled by the electronic helping systems. So for everyday car driving life, that would of course be the better solution. It is safer. At the same time, you can have some loose fun. So here, for example, I can drift it out. I can have some wheel spin, yes. But before going all the way sideways, the car would be caught. And of course, it's good to know to have such kind of systems. And of course, on normal road driving, you would keep it all the way activated.
Oh.
Yeah, Martin
no.
We talked about that. Martin got a little bit loose here. Yeah, he has been doing this for like 30 years. Yeah, and you see, guys, even the most professional drivers, sometimes they get caught by the snow. Well, and for this reason, you can also keep the ESC activated, and this is, it's really not so much fun to drive it with ESC activated here. Here you hear how the system is ruling it. You can, in a way, drive faster with it, especially when you're not that experienced. And it is astonishing how the car is kept in the lane here, like this. It's like driving on rails a little bit here. Of course, there is at some point laws of physics, so you can also drift out on ice, but on dry road or just wet road, hardly happens. And here you can see, for example, Martin is drifting it, and And in a way you get stuck, you know, so it's very interesting. And sometimes it can feel faster even. That's really interesting. So you drive really, really safe, like this. So especially when you start to drive, it's good to start with ESC activate. Here now again, system is ruling. And sometimes I get the feeling that when you want to score the fastest lap time, maybe ESC Sport would be the best, because then you have some kind of safety net, but you're not slowed down too much. Here with ESC on, you just slow down too much. But with ESC Sport, for example, you have just displayed that you don't get ruled down too much, but at the same time you have a safety net. So that could be a good learning setting. But of course, the most fun will always be with ESC off. This one then not recommended, should not use that on public roads. Just here, for example, when I fly off here, I land into this snowball and I'm actually fine. However, you still have to be careful, you know, because, at some point it can go wrong, and you shouldn't underestimate it, so always watch the speed. Of course, we have even more great Golf R content here. Or may want to go SUV racing, Tiguan R video for you as well.